The Fool's Journey. That's what we're talking about today.
Oh, Krystyn and I are still on our Fool's Journey. You really never...
Right. Let's welcome everybody and then we can get into it.
All right.
All right. Welcome
to Two Mystic Mamas. I don't love the word fool. So like when I was doing, research for it, I was like, yeah. I wish it at some point the fool's name also transitioned into something. Because fool makes me think of someone who is an idiot.
But it's not about that. It's about innocence and potential.
Okay, between the lunar eclipse and the spring equinox and the amount of energy that I have expunged in the past 7 days, we should just be grateful that we're together and we're all able to do this.
And Mercury retrograde
yes.
And Venus retrograde.
Forming sentences yesterday was, whoa. I was really having a hard time forming sentences, let alone adulting yesterday. Yesterday was a rest day for me.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because I had to deliver my business plan in pro forma on Wednesday.
Right?
Mm-hmm. By midnight.
11:59?
It might have been 12:02. But, who's counting a minute here or there? But I expunged so much energy that day. So much like mental energy. I mean, physical energy too, but by the end of the day, I had a terrible headache. I had a splitting headache. And I was hydrating and not in the way I wanted to be hydrating. Like I was drinking all the water. I mean, I was doing everything. I was like, yeah. And I had a splitting headache. Anyways, yeah, I'm glad that I'm here.
Congratulations on getting it in.
Thank you. Yes.
Are you happy with it?
I am unbelievably happy with it. Yeah.
Good.
I mean, it's a product of love, right? And I think when you put so much heart and soul into a project because naturally this is just the beginning of it all, but it feels very milestone-y. Like this is a big milestone for me.
Think about it. I mean, we can relate this to what we're talking about today with the Fool's Journey.
Oh, for sure.
Because you go from this youthful innocence, right? To like through struggles, through awakenings, through transformations, and ultimately coming out with all of this new wisdom and a new path for yourself.
Right.
And so while what we're talking about is the Fool's Journey in the Major Arcana of a tarot deck today, but it's really the journey that we go through in life of personal evolution.
It's the journey of life,
and we go through it over and over and over again.
Right. So after it was just really interesting when I was listening to the Fool's Journey in a story form, which is basically what it is. It is a story, and we'll break it down into steps here momentarily. But when I left my last job and I quit, and I had gone to that Reiki session, one of the biggest takeaways was, how do I basically, in essence, kill the current version of myself in a way that allows for that rebirth to take place?
I think it's about being right here, right now.
Oh, for sure. Sure.
And that's been my mantra for my most recent transformation that I've been going through is right here, right now. I can't be in the past. I can't be in the future. I can't control either, but I can be right here, right now, and I can create and I can cultivate from there.
Yes.
And that's what the whole journey is about.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to basically, you have a lot of history and knowledge and wisdom when it comes to this because you've been doing tarot for a lot longer than I have. And my oracle cards that I use are archangel based. So they're different than the Fool's Journey. So take it away, Krystyn.
So I was kind of thinking about this in a way that we can make it more tangible for people. And I was kind of thinking, what if we thought about the Fool's Journey as like a road trip?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, like how to take it from...
Like a cosmic road trip.
Cosmic road. But I like how you can like modernize it, right? Because
self-discovery is never a straight path.
No.
You cannot get from New York City to Los Angeles on a completely straight path.
Unless you're a bird.
Depends on your altitude, I guess.
I mean, I know. Yeah, I get where you're going with this. Sorry, not to throw you off
Unless you're a bird.
Unless you're in a plane.
They don't even really go in a straight
But that's
trajectory.
not a journey. Okay.
It's not a journey.
That's not the journey we're talking about. We're talking feet on the ground, feet on the motherfucking earth, which is a planet.
So the Fool is the first card in the Major Arcana of the tarot deck. And it is this energy of like, I have no clue where I'm going, but I'm going, right? And it's without fear. The whole idea of the Fool is to leap into the unknown, right?
Right.
So if we look at the Fool's card, like he's on the edge of a fucking cliff.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like
yes.
He's on the edge of the cliff. He's got his belongings with him. He's got trust and excitement and probably some bad directions, right? He didn't even bother to print his shit out on MapQuest. Like
MapQuest. Wow, what a way to reference that. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
All right, get to the next page.
I mean, listen, up until I would say the last 5 to 10 years, I was still printing out directions like that for my father.
I know.
Do you have an atlas?
Yes, I do, but it's like an old ass atlas that's in a book. I don't have one that you can like throw in a car.
We were up at the farm in the fall, and we got into the back of Charlie's mom's car for some reason, and Evie's back there, and she's like, "What is this?" And she pulls out like a giant atlas, and I was like, "Ooh, let's talk about this."
Yep.
It was a moment.
Our kids they know nothing about that.
No, I mean, they do. I know at least from what Evie's working on in social studies this year, they're doing a lot with geography and learning that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. But can you imagine if we pulled out like a AAA map and we were on a road trip with our girls and I was like, all right, you guys are in charge of directions. You have to tell us how long we're going to be on. I mean,
I think we should do this. Furthermore, I think we should just send them on a road trip when they turn 18. Here's a car full of snacks, maybe a satellite radio too, in case they don't have service somewhere, and an atlas.
And be like, go
be free.
It's like the phones when they hand rotary. Is that what they're called? Rotary phones?
Oh, yeah.
To people, and they're like, all right, tell me how you use this. And they're like, what?
You know, it's still funny to me that people use letters in phone numbers now.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we first got phones, when we would text, you would have to go 3 times to hit the C, 3 times to hit the
yes.
S. And it was really fucking annoying.
Did you ever used to prank call 1-800 big butts or whatever? Like you would prank call those inappropriate chat lines, and you'd have to like look at the phone.
No, but I did always want to call Miss Cleo in the middle of the night.
I wonder if that bitch is still alive.
Miss Cleo, are you still around?
She died in 2016.
Oh.
She's been dead for...
How old was she?
Not that old. She was born in 1962.
Oh, Miss Cleo. Her soul was on a different journey.
Yeah. All right, so back to the Fool's Journey. So the Fool's Journey.
So what did you learn about the Fool whenever you were doing your research?
Well, I learned that really it's all about those incremental steps that we take in life that, you know, as an infant, as a newborn, if you will, when we're coming into this world, we have to have a lot of people help us and keep us on the right path. And sometimes they steer us wrong. And there's basically an adult phase of that too. And that it does repeat itself, and it repeats itself regarding what level of consciousness you're on. So if you're on a higher level of consciousness and you've already touched on it, but the Fool's Journey repeats itself.
Right.
And that's what's interesting about putting like a story to life, which I think is, we always, as humans, I think it helps us to reference a story that we can garner information from and take key pieces of knowledge and retell those stories and who those people were through our life. Like the thing about the Fool's Journey is it involves tons of people. And so just how influential other humans are in our experience and how important other humans are in our experience.
And again, if we just go back to look at the card and what it represents, the sun is shining, the sun's at his back, and he is just gallivanting through life, right? You cannot take that enthusiasm away.
Right.
He's going for it.
It's the innocence. He hasn't gotten in his ego.
Well, it's that childlike sense of wonder, right?
Yeah.
And then, so if we take this cosmic road trip, the next step that we go on is the Magician. The Magician is one of my favorite cards in the deck. I have a couple that always pull for me, and the Magician is one of them. And for me, it is always a reminder that I have all the tools that I need in order to create the life that I want.
Yep. I was just going to say that. I relate that to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just love the Magician so much. And if we look at this again as this cosmic road trip, okay, now the Fool has been handed a map. Now you have a tool, right? What are you going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I find really interesting about all the Major Arcana cards is that if you are into like divination and predictions, right? Each of them can represent a yes or a no.
A path.
A path.
Yeah.
They also have planets and zodiac signs that they are associated with as well.
It's all interconnected. It really is. The other interesting thing that I was just going to say about that is when the Fool is on his journey and he meets these different people, there is a part of him that meets that person and that person is reflected back. It's like almost as if they're mentors. Well, they are. They're mentors along his path, right? They're teaching him something. And I think that's a really important lesson, especially because I feel like a lot of people get stuck in, I don't need anybody's help. That doesn't feel comfortable. And not everybody is offering a piece of advice for a negative reason or a boastful reason. A lot of people genuinely just want to share their experience. And I think as raising teenagers, that comes up a lot for me too is, hey, I don't know if Evie says this to you, but Emmeline's always like, you don't remember. You've never been in where I am. And I'm thinking, lady, oh, lady.
No, she doesn't. But now that I say that, she probably will. So we can talk about the Magician real quick and then move forward. We talk about this in our house a lot. Being you is your superpower, right? And, Charlie and I definitely have had this conversation when it relates to, either his ADHD or how passionate he is about something. I'm like, that's your superpower.
Yes.
Like, it's actually incredible that you can do the things that you do. He has so much compassion and heart for what he does in the percussion world. And it's so cool to watch. But I think part of the way that his brain is set up allows him to be that person, right? And so lean into it. I had a friend who was doing a really beautiful workshop a few years ago, and she gave each of the people that came in to the workshop a blank journal to write in. And she wrote a personalized message in the front of each one. And you didn't know what your message was going to be until you received your journal. And mine was, being me is my superpower. And I was like, oh, yeah, that hits. Because we're always stuck in this, like, we need to be, we should be. Where the Magician is just here reminding us, you have the tools. You have the tools to create. You have the tools to be whoever you want to be. Create and manifest anything that you want to manifest.
I think it also goes back to standing in your power and feeling comfortable doing that. And it's easy to let outside influences come in and give you that chatter and give you that and you're like, oh no, what?
Well, that's true. And what comes next is the High Priestess, who's reminding us that we have this intuition, this inner knowing, and we have access to hidden wisdom.
But again, that goes back to being still and being able to listen to yourself and knowing that the path that you choose and the journey that you're on is yours. It's not anybody else's. And there can be people and things that influence us, right? And they can take us off our path sometimes. And then we come back to our path.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't have awareness because they choose to not have awareness.
I think that is a learned behavior, right?
I think it's really hard to break out of, if I'm honest. And for people that are completely unaware of themselves, they're just running.
Yep.
And if that's you and you're like, oh, this feels uncomfortable to listen to right now because it strikes a chord, nothing's wrong with you. This is just where you're at in your journey.
Well, and as humans, the human behavior likes to live in patterns. The human behavior likes to be in places that are comfortable and that are known and that feel safe. And we're creatures of habit. That's just how we operate. And so it's not to say that like you can't make change. You can. I think it's just a matter of recognizing and keeping tabs on that for yourself.
Right.
This is a great place for anybody if they don't journal to journal.
100%. So, in the interest of time, we obviously have gone through a couple of the first cards. And I think we can break these down into sections of kind of what's happening, right? The Fool is kind of taking us through. So it's like these early encounters, right? We start the road trip, these early encounters, these like all of our first stops, right? When we're looking at the magician and the high priestess and the emperor, the empress, and the hierophant. So we have all these early encounters that are happening. And then we kind of get to this place where we have a fork in the road, right? And it's like the first chance that we come across to have changes in our journey.
Crossing the threshold.
Right. And this looks a lot like the outer world, right? In terms of transformation and growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not until we get later that we get into that inner world and facing the shadow self.
Right.
And some of the cards that indicate this are going to be like the Chariot and Strength. And this is like, we're like rolling along, and the Chariot is this like confidence that we have. And then the Strength card kind of reminds us that it's not all rainbows, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to tap into that inner strength.
Mm-hmm.
We're tested on our journey.
Right.
And, any of us have gone through this. We start out a project, an idea, a relationship, a business, even a conversation with somebody with excitement.
Everyone's journey is a little bit different, but I feel like in your 20s is really where you kind of assert yourself based on what you know at that point, and then you meet people that are like, we're going to bring you back down.
But in addition, there's like all these side quests.
Oh, for sure.
That are each their own little fool's journey.
For
right?
sure.
Like
when
we're just constantly transforming.
Absolutely.
And going through this in different ways.
Like when I was living in France, that was its own full, complete journey in those 5-6 months of my life that influenced where I was going. And I was like, this may come as a shock, but like, I'm not here for you guys. I'm here for me. And this is something I need to do, that I've wanted to do, that I've put on the back burner because I was like very involved in my sorority, to the point where I was like, yeah, fuck this noise. Like, I'm out. I'm going to go do this. We don't need to get into that.
Rachel.
Yeah. I was in the sorority that hated sororities.
You know what? My husband says the same bullshit about the fraternity I was in. I don't buy it. Shocking news this just in. Krystyn was not a sorority kind of girl.
Yeah, no. But legit, quick story, freshman year, Pitt, we're being honest, which I think we're fairly honest on this podcast. In high school, I had gone to a party. I was hanging, I would say, with the wrong group at this exact point in time. It was short-lived, but I went to a party and everyone was doing ecstasy. And naturally, I partook in the ecstasy taking. And if anybody's done ecstasy, it basically, and I think there's other dopamine related drugs that like, or euphoric related drugs, whatever, that like open your mind, and you just want to be best friends with everybody. Okay. You're just telling.
Are very low. I mean, this was a thing in our early 20s.
Yeah.
That was like really prevalent.
So I met a girl from the neighboring town who was also going to Pitt, and we decided we had to be roommates because it just made so much sense. Well, it didn't make any fucking sense. She was a lunatic. And my freshman year, I was at school when 9/11 hit, and she was drunk off her ass by like 2 p.m. maybe. And naturally, just given the events of that day and everything, I was furious with her to the point where I almost kicked her ass. Like physically kicked her ass in our dorm room, and had to be.
This happens in college, you guys.
I had to be held back by some of the guys on the floor.
I'm so glad somebody held them back.
They were like, Rachel, you cannot kick her ass. A, she's drunk, and B, it's not worth it. You'll get in trouble. anyways, right at that point, I decided this is not going to work for me. And we shared a bathroom with another set, like another room. And so one of the girls in that other room was rushing. That's what they call it. Rushing for a sorority.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I was like, fetch that noise. I'm not doing that. That's dumb. And I went with her to an event because I didn't know what to do. And it was a social event. And the girls that were still left in the sorority, I think there was like 5 or 6 of them. They were like, our chapter's going to close. We don't have enough girls. And it's really sad. And I was just like curious about it and like learning about what a sorority is and what it entails and all of this. And they were like, yeah, we don't even have enough girls to like support the rooms that are on the floor, so their pit's probably going to take our suite and all this stuff. And I was like, I just saw an opportunity. It's like, I need a room because I couldn't live with this other girl anymore. And off I went. I went on my
what sorority were you in?
I was in Alpha Delta Pi, the oldest sorority in the United States, the first sorority in the United States.
See, I'm more of like a life and death brigade kind of girl than I am a sorority girl. Any Gilmore Girls fans in the house will understand this.
I mean,
but like today's Krystyn would be in a sorority, but I wouldn't join a sorority. I would start a sorority.
There you go. Well, we basically, in essence, did start a sorority. We restarted the chapter on Pitt's campus, and now it's like fucking massive. We were the catalyst for change, even though it was based on, an established sorority. We brought it new life.
There you go.
Anyways, that was a deep dive into
but that was part of your journey.
It was part of my journey. It was certainly part of my journey. There's a lot of stories there. A lot of stories.
College roommates are rough.
Oh, she was a lunatic.
I got jumped by my first college roommate. It was terrible.
Like physically? Sexually?
No, physically jumped. Like tried to beat me up, jumped.
Oh, like I was going to do to her.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to come at it from a jumping.
She was just crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We both had crazy roommates.
It was rough. I enrolled late. I was supposed to go to New Orleans for school, and my parents freaked out about me being far away.
Yes.
So I ended up back in Baltimore, and after the kerfuffle with my roommates, I had an apartment. So I was like on the edge of campus, but I had an apartment with like juniors and seniors.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I had 2 girls that I lived with. And then after that happened, there were a couple of guys that were like soccer players that lived like across the hall, and I just moved in with them.
Yeah.
So,
we had a co-ed floor, but as a freshman, you had to live on campus. It was a
right. I don't know how I got around that with like late enrollment and stuff. I think about that often with our girls and how quickly the next 6 years are going to go, because it's crazy. One of their other friends made a video and sent it to Evie, the third E, sent it to Evie. And she used that clip of like, does it make you sad to know it's like audio clip that this was 7 summers ago?
Oh, yeah.
And it was the 2 of them from last week and then the 2 of them from 7 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my gosh. And it seems like just yesterday, right? And time flies as you're kind of moving through all of these parts of your own journey, and you're encountering challenges and you're growing, right? Like that's what life is about. So I haven't really shared this. I've been on a health journey.
Oh, you haven't shared it on the podcast.
I haven't shared it on the podcast.
Yes.
I haven't really shared it with anybody other than a couple of close friends. And I started working with somebody in November. And I was like super on my shit, right? And losing weight, like I'm doing a combination of like nutrition and the mental stuff and the physical stuff and like all in this amazing program.
And the spiritual stuff.
Right. And so I was so on top of like tracking everything. And so my coach and I had a check-in yesterday, and he was like, you're going to fail. You have to fail. And he equated it to music for me, which of course made sense. Because he was like, if you play hot cross buns on the piano every single day for the next year, you're not going to grow.
Right.
You're not going to fail.
There's no
If you don't
challenge
give
there.
yourself an opportunity to fail, you're never going to grow and go into the space that you want to be in.
Right.
And, when we talk about growth not being linear, and it's, it doesn't look like this, just like we don't go straight across the country in our road trip, is that we have to fail. We have to go back in order to have these moments where we can look forward and have awareness and self-reflection to move forward in the right direction. Because even if life is going swimmingly for you, if you're somebody that journals, you can go back and look at something that you wrote 3 years ago, and your trajectory is completely different.
Totally.
If it's not, you should fucking worry.
Yes.
If you literally have not changed in 3 years, you need to spice up some shit.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not growing or we're not having awareness, right? And that's, a part of this whole second part of the Fool's Journey is about that, right? And I hate to use the word mastery because as soon as we learn something, it changes. But it is part of it, right? Is mastering the ups and the downs. It's not about mastering life. It's about mastering how we move forward with purpose and not necessarily having control.
That's a big one. I think about that a lot, about how now I exercise surrender and how now I exercise letting go of control. Because for so long, that's all I looked for was, how do I control situations? How do I even with like being a parent, I sometimes struggle with that too, because you want to control the behavior. You want to control the situation because you have that awareness and that experience to go along with it. But it's that paradigm shift of, right, but this is their journey. This is not your journey.
Well, that's it. Somewhere along that pathway, we realize that we are a part of this bigger wheel, right? And fate and luck and karma and accountability and all of it plays a role.
Sure.
In the direction that we're going. And the inner self starts to creep in. Slowly, we start to look at ourselves because we're on this road trip and we start to look at where we're going. We often will use external validation, but also external conflict as a reason that we haven't progressed where we want to go.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. Well, that exercise in and of itself, where you recognize excuses and taking responsibility, whew, I think I struggle with that a lot just in general when I think about like what I look for in people and what I admire in people. I like when people can be accountable. And I like when people can say, you know what, I fucked up. I'm really sorry. And just be honest about it. Not like, well, this isn't my fault because XYZ reason. It's like,
I mean, honestly, that's where you have to grow. And when I look back at my life, do I have traumas from relationships? And it's not 100% other people's fault because I participated. Right. We all have an active participation on some level in what's going on in our life. Whether we have manifested the bullshit, and you want to go back to one of our first episodes and listen to that, and how we accidentally manifest bullshit in our life every day, or you're just kind of floating around, not realizing your own power. But as soon as you take accountability and you're like, I played a role in this because I didn't trust in myself, or I didn't believe I was worthy,
or I didn't communicate clearly what my needs and wants are.
Right. And that's a big one. And I think for me, a long time, I didn't even allow myself to know what my needs and wants were.
Right.
Because I was so busy trying to make sure that I was making everybody else's needs and wants be fulfilled.
Yes.
And so then I wouldn't even give myself, and this was like, for a long time, I'd be like, I don't even know what I want to eat. Stupid shit that I should know what I want. For years, I did not know who I was or what I wanted, because I only wanted other people to be happy with me.
Right.
Fuck that shit.
Yes.
If you are listening to this, please be done with it.
Please know that you can.
You're not alone.
You can put that to rest and move on to the next card.
Right. And that you have to shed the old in order to make room for the new.
You do.
Right?
You do.
And that's when we get to that death card. Everybody's like, oh my God, the death card. Does that mean I'm going to die? Does that mean?
I love the death card.
I do too.
Because it's not physical death. It's not like your experience on earth is done, right? For some people, that actually probably rings true. But it's just the version of you that is needing to die, go away. You have to grieve that person, and you have to.
Yep. I've been listening to, actually just finished listening to an audiobook on Spotify. First time listening to a book on Spotify, by the way. And it was really interesting because it was a very different approach to manifestation. We'll have to get into this another time.
Okay.
But the last piece that they talked about was your vibrational bank account.
Oh.
And every time that we are living in guilt or living in shame or living in complaint of other people or circumstance or whatever it is, we are debiting from our vibrational bank account, right? Every time that we are spreading goodwill, thinking positive thoughts, sharing positive experiences with people, we're adding credit to that vibrational bank account, right? And it did talk about, okay, well, what about people that murder people, right? What about people that really like severely debit their vibrational bank account? Is that eventually those people do die in some way because they can't. So there are two things happen. Either they come to a point where they realize that they have to do something so large to change their life and the trajectory of their life that they are adding like a huge credit, we'll say, to the vibrational bank account in order to stay alive. Or they just bye-byes.
So fascinating.
I know, it is really interesting. It made me think about that because the death card, I don't ever associate with physical death. However, we all know that we can stress ourselves out to having medical emergencies and we can create a vibrational deficit in our bodies.
For sure.
That causes physical ailments and potentially death.
Yes, 100%.
So what happens after a major transformation?
Well, I wouldn't say the journey starts all over again, but you're on a different vibrational plane. You're a different version of yourself. You have these stories and these moments, these core memories. If you're a inside out kind of person, you have these core memories that you take with you as you move into the next phase, which is starting the journey, but also helping others on their journey.
Well, I think what happens is when we start to try to attain enlightenment, right? We start to try and find this balance and this harmony. We are having to integrate lessons of the past, right? And we're trying to figure out what that looks like. But then, it comes a time where we have to break free of self-imposed chains, right? And I think as we dive into the shadow self and dive into our inner world, now we're tempted by illusions or disillusions, and we're trying to sort through what those look like. I mean, how many times have we been like, okay, I'm finding balance, I'm on the right path, and then something happens and you're like, no, I'm not. Nope. No, I'm not.
All the time.
Right.
That's the thing too. Like these don't have to be like major life events all the time. These can be, to your point, daily things that keep coming up and resurfacing. These can be things from the past that you thought you had dealt with, that you thought you had moved on from, that come back into the picture and you're like, okie dokie, we're doing this again.
Well, I think it gets to a point where the fool, each of us, has to find that hope in order to heal and transform our lives.
And let go of the emotion, right? Or the attachment to whatever that was. I mean, I would say the fool's journey is such a good representation of our lives. And I like to combine different modalities and different exercises because they're so interconnected. So I think when you're looking back at where you've come from and the lessons that you've learned, it's important to also recognize and give yourself that recognition. And then, also in the same breath, think about where you're moving, where you want to move forward, how you want to be a person in this human experience, in this collective that makes positive change, that elicits new happy memories and also growth. I mean, I think you can look at situations and you can know that certain things are going to happen. Like, you're going to lose people physically, right? Like, people are going to die that are in your life. And I would say that's a great place to think about the time you have left with people and how you can capitalize on that, but then how you're going to deal with them when they do pass and how you're going to remember them. And because death, for me, the physical sense of it, I think is a great representation of something we gloss over or makes us uncomfortable as a society. So therefore we don't deal with it. And there's a lot of things that I want to accomplish with this podcast when it comes to normalizing what I feel are common threads of being a human. And that would be one of them. Let's normalize talking about death.
And self-destruction.
And self-destruction.
You're going to self-destruct. Those little pieces of yourself that you shy away from.
Or put in a box and hide from the rest of the world.
They're going to come back.
Yep.
You're going to get to 75% of whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And that thing is going to come back and it's going to bite you in the ass and you're going to self-destruct. And that is a part of the process.
Yes.
That is how you learn. That is how you grow. That does not mean you are a terrible person.
No, God.
That does not mean you're a flawed human. That means you are human.
Yeah.
That is a part of the whole experience.
Yes. Yeah.
And we talk about this journey as this car ride, but maybe you take a wrong exit and you have to go back.
I mean, anybody that's taken a road trip, you can have the best fucking plans and shit will come up that you're like, I didn't see that coming. You know what I mean? So, the other thing I would say with the Fool's Journey and just in general, and this is a lesson that I feel like I've been pretty good at throughout my life, but I feel like I can also always improve in, is to be able to pivot. And again, that goes back to surrender, right? When you're able to surrender, you can pivot more easily because you're not holding on to the control of whatever that energy is.
It is real hard to surrender to the unknown, but it's the only way that you can really move forward because you can't control it.
So if you were to have a couple movies here,
ooh,
there's 4, and they're all super well known.
Okay.
But one could say that they follow the Fool's Journey.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, I was going to see if you could guess any of them.
Okay, all right.
Because your movie knowledge is very strong. So...
Lies.
No, they're not. Okay, so I'm going to give you I'll give you a clue.
Okay.
Frodo Baggins.
Oh, yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. Yep. All right. Neo.
The Matrix.
Yes. Luke Skywalker.
Oh, coming back to Star Wars.
And always.
Well, I mean, the hero's journey is also the fool's journey.
Yes.
Just a part of it.
Yep. The last one, we're going back to 1938.
Jesus.
Dorothy Gale.
Okay. So the Wizard of Oz, we know well, right? And for me, I don't know if a lot of other people are like this too. I never saw the Broadway show Wicked. And then the movie came out. And it was really interesting to me that this whole plot that we didn't know existed is what led to that movie.
Correct.
Right? And I think that that's a really good representation of we don't actually know what the fuck is going on.
No.
We don't actually know.
Even with Star Wars and Luke Skywalker, that was the first one that came out. That wasn't the beginning of the story.
Right. None of us know what the fuck is going on, guys.
Yeah.
We're all in this together.
We are.
Just
floating
floating around like your coccyx.
Yeah. Oh, boy. If you don't know what a coccyx is, look it up.
All right. Well, I think we're ready to wrap this up. I hope you've enjoyed the journey with us. And just know that this whole road trip that you're on is not about where you're going. It's about the transformation.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the journey. It's about the lessons. It's just about embracing right here, right now, living in the moment, loving. Just share some fucking sunshine with people.
Yeah.
And if you're having a rough time, that's okay too.
I mean,
find one thing you're grateful for in this moment.
Yeah.
And just cling to that as your lifeline until you get through the rough seas.
Yes. And we will also include, when we post this information about this particular episode, there is some really great references out there that can go into greater detail about the Fool's Journey. And it will also, we'll link up tarot. Krystyn can reference some ones that she knows and uses regularly.
I can pop some Amazon links up for you guys.
Because this is something I think is a fun exercise that you naturally can do. If you wanted to go see a professional, you can totally do that. But it's something that you can also step into your own power and do yourself, because everyone is gifted in this way. This isn't a unique exercise. It's just a matter of the more you do it, it's like a muscle, the stronger it gets. So feel free to tap into your own metaphysical gifts and see what also messages come out and start helping you along the journey. So thanks for being along on our journey. We love you, fools.
Love you. Bye-bye.